Yeah. So we've got two very good tackles. A lot of potential there with those guys. Orlando has been a good player for a long time, and he's continuing to ascend. And Marius is going into his second year. Real excited about working with him. Ted is a very good center and still playing at a really high level. Great leader for the team. And at guard, you got Cordell at left guard. So we're looking to get find some developmental tools to get his game up a little bit, and so at right guard too with Kappa. So he's just looking at some of those things we can get better at, as far as protection goes. Because the biggest thing is really trying to keep Joe healthy and safe and upright back there. So we're targeting that area big time as far as development goes.
What's the key to having good guard play?
I'm sorry, could you hear?
What's the key to having good guard play?
Good guard play. There's a number of keys to that. One of the biggest things is just firmness in the pocket. Giving Joe a safe space to step up. So making sure we're not getting knocked back too much. Because on the edges, the tackles kind of control the width of the pocket. The interior three are going to have the middle of the pocket. So we need to do a better job there inside.
Is that something somebody can improve on over the course of, like, if they've been in the league 3 or 4 years? Can they get better at making sure they're not getting pushed back as much? Like, how does that happen?
It's a very good question. Yes, there are things you can do, but there's limitations to that. Some guys it depends on the strength level, the build, kind of the function, the size, the tools that they have. And really, the tools that they have, that's what we're targeting, because there's ways to improve that for sure. But some guys are just going to have more firmness than others, just as far as anchor goes. So, but certainly there's always something you can do to help achieve that as it relates to technique.
Zach and Dan Pitcher over the years haven't been shy even about telling us that on the line they prioritize pass protection. It's all about protecting Burrow from a evaluation standpoint. Is that how does your overall philosophy line up with that in terms of prioritizing pass protection, and is there an adjustment there?
No, I mean that's the thing. I mean, when you have a quarterback like Joe, he's somebody you covet and you take care of him. So it's personal. It's something that it's a major point of emphasis, because protecting him is really the key to your success. And when you have a great quarterback like Joe, and I think obviously from our perspective, it's pass protection, not being passive. We want to be aggressive. We want to be combative, and like if you're doing any security detail for someone important, you want to discourage. So we're looking forward to getting some of those things implemented and improving in that area. But I obviously understand. We all understand the importance of that and the needs to improve.
How much have you talked with the current offensive linemen, the starters that you mentioned?
I've had some conversations with some of the guys, but they're on their break, so we're kind of digging into. We have free agency, we have the draft, and try to let those guys take a break. They're going to get plenty of me when they get to town.
One thing that Dan Picture was talking about is the fact that your reputation is really centered on technique, and how important is it to meld the technique with the scheme, and how much work in the off season is there into making sure that the transition is a smooth one?
Yeah, I mean, technique is. I mean, you see all these players that are here at the combine. Everybody's got something about them that made them a good player, that makes them a prospect, and they all have different levels of talent. But by and large, NFL players in the offensive line are big, they're strong, they're physical. They have these different things. Now, what separates them? So technique is one of those things, and how do you optimize a player's ability? It can be done there in one way, and I think. And that's how you develop the unit and elevate the unit as well. So, technique is huge. I mean, I was a former player that had times when you're frustrated because you want to block a guy, you just don't quite know. And so getting very specific there, I think, is helpful, and I think the guys will appreciate that.
Could you share more about what you saw from Volson last season?
With Volson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played 3 years, right? Now 3 years as a starter, and I really like the kid coming out of college. He's a tough guy. He's big. He's physical. He's got length. I think just kind of helping him find ways to utilize his tools better is one of the areas of, and you can do that through drilling and kind of emphasis on certain things where we think we can help him. But yeah, I think there were some things where hand placement was something that was difficult. Some of the set angles, and just kind of having the ability to capture cloth with his hands, and it's something we put a big premium on. I think that'll help him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you coached Volson at the East-West game. I think the year he came out.
I did. Yes, I had him. I had Cordell at the East-West game, and I was impressed with him when I was with the Browns. I thought I'd love to draft this guy because he had all the intangible things too. He's a tough kid. Really loves the game. So just kind of helping him along in his career, take the next step is the goal.
What's one of the biggest things you learned about line play from Bill Callahan?
Ooh, line play from Bill Callahan. Well, I think Bill's the best coach in the NFL, and he has been for a long time. And that's not just one thing; that's many things. And I think that the process from Bill is probably the approach, the mindset, the way he prepares the team, prepares the unit, and because he's kind of a one-stop shop. He's a great guy with scheme. He's great with scheme. Really good at motivation, getting guys playing their best, and technically sound as well. So I think all the above, just kind of the way he put his process together, was something I took away from Bill. But there's many things, but that's probably the easiest way to say.
I know you guys kind of had a reputation for developing guys that maybe a lot of people were, thrown away by other teams or come on from out of nowhere. What was some of the biggest keys for you guys in doing that in Cleveland specifically, where it seemed like we were kind of doing that a couple times over?
Well, that was always, my strength. But I think if you look at what we talk about is, there are no backups in this league. If you look, you go, wow, everybody's going to play. If you're on the roster, you hope you can get through a season healthy, but you realistically, it's very, very unlikely. So you have to prepare everyone in that room as if they're starting. So you're constantly managing, working, developing, putting in extra time, and you can't let anybody pass you by, because you got to always be looking at the back end of the guys too. And when we've had those guys go in and they perform at a high level, you hope that they do it seamlessly, so you're not having a big drop. And obviously, there's going to be give and take there, but we've done some good things in the past with that, and that's the goal here in the future, as far as getting other players that are on the back end of the roster up to speed, so then it's seamless, and everybody should understand the drills. They should understand the techniques, because it's all synced up and synergistic when it's done right. So that's getting guys in the system that are smart. If you're a backup player, intelligence is big. You got to really want to. You got to have high football character, because some of those guys may not be quite as talented, but they can certainly overcome a lot of that with their approach and development.
How do you approach the volume of pass block sets that are here? Obviously, it's going to be a ton, with making sure that you have good enough line play given the style of play that the Bengals play.
How do I approach that? Well, you have many different tools at your disposal, and if you're going to go out there and you're doing things one way and one way only, it's like baseball. If you got one pitch, even if you throw 105 miles an hour, someone's going to hit you. So having a variety of tools, developing those tools, and putting the premium on that, because we will throw the ball a lot with Joe. So we're going to spend a lot of time working pass protection, and that's more than schematic and assignment. That's a lot of details, and very subtle details that can make one player take him to the next step. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish. And if you can do that collectively, and everybody's on the same path and we're synced up, I think we'll have some benefit.
It sounds like you're pretty optimistic about Cordell and him being able to take a step forward.
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about all the guys we have. I think that sometimes it's a good change of pace. I know, when you get a new coach in, sometimes it's a new fresh start. So yeah, definitely optimistic. I think, I look at it like, I see the issues, but are these things we can address and correct? Yeah, in many ways you probably can. But walking in with a clean slate, and I'm optimistic for sure.
Learned is maybe different about the process you go through in evaluating a free agent, offensive lineman, or a draft, other than the experience that a free agent would have? And is there something that is maybe different when you're evaluating those two things?
Yeah, you go through free agency, and you're watching the free agents. These are NFL players that have been trained. They're playing at a reasonably high level if you're looking at them. So, getting a college kid, you have to really look at it differently. You can't go, okay, well, the college player is generally much more raw. They don't have all the tools, the trade. It may be a different system. So it's not apples to apples. It's like, when you're looking at what could this guy be, and once he's in the system and developed. You look at an NFL player, and there's certainly things you can do, but the level of growth is smaller. So you figure, if you can make a guy 10% better, that's a free agent guy that has experience. Well, that'd be good. If you'd hope to make a college player 90 or 90% better in terms of overall development. So you're looking at the raw materials with a college player. You're looking at the character, raw materials being the physical aspects of them. The intelligence, the character, the measurables are important, but and then the tape matters too, to see how they do things innately and naturally. But you're making an assessment, and it's a big judgment, because it's not exactly the same.
Have you been able to look at the free agents this class yet?
Yeah, definitely. We got through that process, evaluated all the guys that are out there in free agency. So moving on to the college now.
What do you think of it in general? Just the depth that's out there.
Yeah, every year you're going to get guys that are out there that that are possibly up, that are up for free agency. You're looking at signing, but offensive line play is something that's very much coveted. It's hard to find good players, so a lot of these teams are going to retain their guys. You know that, but you're doing the full evals anyway, because in the event that somebody out there you like, you can get. You're certainly going to try to upgrade your roster that way.
As you watch the film from last season, I'm curious your thoughts on Chase Brown.
Wow, he's electric. He's amazing. He's a very good back. So real excited about our guys getting up there and blocking for him, because he's a great back. I think for a lot of explosive. Made a lot of explosive plays. Physical. Really good. I think he's one of the best in the league.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
I got into jiu-jitsu when I had an injury when I was playing. I was playing for the Panthers, and I had a surgery, and I was non-weight bearing for a long time, so I couldn't walk and I couldn't do anything athletic that way. So jiu-jitsu's on the ground. I'm like, well, I'll try that out. So I got into that, and I got destroyed by like small guys about twice my age, and it was like my ego. I kept that in check. I'm like, I'm gonna come back another day, and it was pretty interesting, because it's really not about size, strength, or athletic ability. It's about technical knowledge and exploiting human anatomy. And I thought, well, if I'm a big guy and I can do that to someone else that's big, it's a bonus, So it was something I enjoyed. It was a good passion, and something I've taken some things with me as we apply them to football.
Well, you trained some pretty young guys in the UFC space. What did you learn from those experiences, and kind of how did that help you coaching NFL guys?
Well, the NFL, the UFC, there's only so many dimensions. I mean, in football, you have a lot of dimensions. You have 11 on 11. In the UFC, it's a one-on-one. So you're always looking at yourself in the UFC. It's like you better have your skills up to snuff before you even think about scouting an opponent. So it's really about self-development first, and then at the higher ranks of levels in fighting, it's about how do you exploit the opponent once your skills are developed. And guys are always looking at themselves like, how can I add a new tool, a new process, something that takes where maybe my you're self-scouting, I guess. You're looking at yourself to see your weaknesses in your game. So it's very much looking internal in that realm. And I think in one of the things in football that for a long time, everybody talks about scheme. Well, most of the teams are doing very similar things, but how are we getting those guys better? So I think looking at the individual, it's more of a maybe a microcosm versus a macro.
When it comes to Amarius, just what excites you the most about working with his development, especially when you have a guy like him who has that skill set and his intangibles?
Yeah, he's what's exciting is that he's out there last year as a rookie. He had minimal playing time, I think, in college. There's not a lot of games he played in, but he's a great kid. I think, I had a chance to interview him and talk to him last year. I'm really excited about that. You want to be working with good people. He wants to be good, and he wants to be great, so that helps. That's huge. And then he has the physical talent, which you can see. So, he's able to go out there in his rookie year and do pretty well, considering he's raw. And I think so getting him to a level where he can be physically dominant in this league for a long time, just given his stature, his abilities, and that excites me.
Did you have one-on-one with him? Did you talk to him one-on-one?
Yes.
At school?
I went to Georgia last year and had a great conversation, meeting with him, and talked football, and I thought he was great. He was really just a great kid, great person, enjoyed the conversation. He was really into the questions of football. He had good knowledge of his system, and that was a concern, obviously, I'm sure, for everybody, because he didn't play a lot in college, but I was impressed with his, he was inquisitive, and he was really, really thoughtful. So yeah, he's a good kid, and someone that really wants to get better.
What's a submission? I never asked you this.
What is a submission?
Yeah, submission. When you won the submission, you won a couple national submissions.
Oh, submission grappling, submission wrestling. Yeah, so like jiu-jitsu is really technically is with a gi on. I never wore a gi. That's a uniform. So you go out there, submission wrestling, submission grappling. That's when you're in a t-shirt, shorts, and you're out there. It's like wrestling, but you submit people. So
yeah, what's
you,
that?
You put them in holds and chokes and get them to basically tap. That means that you got them in a compromised position, and yeah, arm bars. There's a million different submissions, like different chokes you can see. UFC, it's kind of like the UFC minus striking. You don't punch. No kicks or punches or strikes. Yeah.
Are you aware that Joe's a massive UFC fan?
I was told that. Yeah, that's cool. I think a lot of football guys are. It's like football players always love watching that, and I think a lot of the fighters like watching football too. So that's cool.
Why do you think that is?
I think you respect the toughness and the detail, and just you're like, wow, those guys are in there doing this. It's like they're putting something on the line. I think guys appreciate that on some level, and the skill set and the entertainment value of it. And I think that's probably what got me into it too.
So remind remind you not to ask you a tough question. Man. I don't want
No. No.
I don't want to get. I don't want to get.
No. That's okay. You guys are good. Appreciate it. You guys okay?
Yeah.
All set. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Scott.